Okay, הלכות גניבה, פרק ג' הלכה א'. Okay, so let us begin. I will give a short introduction to what we're about to study. So, in American law, if a person commits a crime for which he is liable to, let's say, imprisonment, and during the commission of the crime, he also causes property damage, he could be sued, he could be held in trial in criminal court for the crime that he committed, and for which he might have to go to jail or whatever the punishment is. And he can also be taken to civil court and be sued for monetary damages. So basically, under the American legal system and under most legal systems, a person can be subject to criminal liability and also be subject to civil liability. So far clear? Simple? Okay, and this happens all the time. I think when many times you have these cases, I believe in the case of O.J. Simpson, he was cleared of criminal charges, but they still sued him in civil court, right? So that's the way it works. Now, in Jewish law, there are two types of criminal punishments, meaning if a person commits a crime, Jewish law will punish the person through physical means in one of two ways. One is death penalty, and the other is malkut. Malkut is lashing. Let me just give you a little background so we don't all think that the Jewish law system is similar to Iran. I don't know if you know what's happening in Iran, but in Iran, and I believe also in Saudi Arabia, it's kind of a national sport to watch people get lashed in public or hung in public. In Iran, they have these huge cranes and they hang the person in the public square. What did he do? Not clear. He didn't do my maharonim yesterday. Somebody caught him. They're putting him on a crane. They're hanging him. So no, that is not the Jewish law system at all. These types of punitive measures, namely death penalty and malkut, were very, very rare because it was almost impossible to get somebody, in the sense that what you need two witnesses. The witnesses have to warn the person and have to tell the person, by the way, what you're doing is a crime and you're going to be subject to this and this punishment. And the guy has to answer, say, I don't really care. I know this is death penalty. I'm doing it anyway. Don't bother me. Okay. So a very rare situation. And that's why the Hachamim said that if there was death penalty once every 70 years, that was a big deal. Like, wow, how do we have so many death penalties? So I just want to explain this. Now, there is nevertheless a actual practical consequence to these punitive punishments, and it's as follows. In Jewish law, you cannot be subject to death penalty and payment, meaning once the person is subject to death penalty, he will not have to pay for damages that occurred as a result of his crime. You understand? That's what we're going to be studying today. We're going to be giving different examples of a person did a crime, he's subject to death penalty, but he also caused damages to another individual. And the question is, okay, death penalty and damages, what overrides what? He can't get both. You understand the point? So that's the law. The Gemara says, in Masechet Ketuvot, and we're going to now quote the language, Kim le bidraba mineh. What that means, Kim le bidraba mineh, literally means it is enough for him to get the most severe of the punishments. So we're not going to punish him twice. So let's see what happened to O.J. Simpson. Theoretically, in Jewish law, might not happen because, again, we're not going to give him to criminal court and also take him to civil court. We're going to take him to one court. You understand the way it works? Okay. So now we're going to see the difference.
Did they take him to both?
Right, because American law is different than Jewish law. Exactly, meaning Jewish law has this unique aspect. We're not going to punish the person twice. American law will punish the person twice. All right, so let's read this now. Everybody ready?
Yeah.
Everybody have the material? All right, here goes. Anybody who commits a crime which would make him liable to death penalty, but at the commission of the crime he also caused damages, and therefore theoretically he should also have to pay money. Eno mishalem. What does eno mishalem mean? He doesn't pay. Why? Because he's subject to death penalty. But here's the kicker. Af al pi shehaya shogeg. Even though when he committed this crime for which he would be subject to death penalty, he did it b'shogeg. What does shogeg mean? By accident, actually unintentionally, unknowingly. Now if a person does a crime unknowingly in Jewish law, do we punish him? No. So what does this mean? It means that the guy gets off scot-free. I just think about that. Again, he committed, we're gonna bring an example. We're gonna bring examples, so this is what we're studying. But I just want you to understand. We're saying the guy committed a crime. He would normally be subject to death penalty for this crime. But he's not gonna be liable in this case. Why? Because he did a bishogeg. Okay, so let him pay. You're saying he's not gonna be subject to death penalty. Okay, let him pay. No, since theoretically he could have been subject to death penalty, he's not going to pay. Very unusual law, right? I'm going to explain it in a moment. What is the reasoning of this law? But first I want you to understand the law. You understand the basic principle?
But does the same thing work for civil? Let's say it's only the civil, and he didn't know.
Yeah.
And he doesn't pay also?
No. In civil, when a person unknowingly takes somebody else's property, he has to make good on what he took. Right? Meaning, we don't allow a person to unjustly enrich himself through the property of somebody else, and it doesn't matter whether it was intentional or not. Yeah? Okay, now.
So if you kill somebody, damage property by accident, you're off.
Exactly, correct.
If you damage property without killing them,
Yeah.
you gotta pay.
Exactly, correct, yes. So let's say, I'll give you an example. I take a gun and I shoot somebody, not me. Somebody takes a gun and shoots somebody. I don't own a gun, just so everybody to know, I believe in the Second Amendment, but I do not own a gun. Okay, so a person takes the gun, shoots another individual, and the bullet goes through and breaks the window of the neighbor. In Jewish law, he wouldn't be subject to monetary liability for having broken the window of his neighbor, for the reason that while he was breaking the window of the neighbor, at that same act, he tried to kill somebody, and in Jewish law, killing somebody is a capital offense, subject to death penalty. Right? That's interesting law. Correct. You just use it. Yes, sir.
It seems to make sense to me only because in order to be convicted of a capital crime, you need two witnesses to warn you ahead of time.
Okay.
So you can't not know. You see what I'm saying? You
No.
can't.
I understand what you're saying, but they could have said, look, it could have been a situation where they said, if you're actually going to be liable for death, we're not going to take you to civil court.
Right.
But we're saying more than that. We're saying you're not liable to death. There was no witnesses.
Right.
And now, or maybe
No, but I'm saying
obviously.
that there's no witnesses, you can't be liable to death, was my understanding.
Right, no. So that's the point.
Yeah.
We don't look at whether in this specific circumstance he's going to be convicted or not.
Right.
We're looking, is this a crime for which the punishment is death?
Yeah, I got it.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah,
That's why we look at it.
Yeah.
That's all we care about. Yes, they
Yeah.
could have been dead. Okay, it was an accident. I was just like fiddling with my gun. I didn't realize it was loaded. Shot, okay, bishogeg, whatever. Killed somebody, bishogeg. Broke the window. Okay, there's no death penalty. But there's no monetary damages for the window. That's the crazy part. So I want to explain why that is. I will explain why that is.
If the person survives?
If the person survives, then so then there was no murder. So then there was no murder, and because there was no murder, he would be liable for damages. Correct. Because he survived. There was no murder. He didn't commit the crime. He wanted to. Let's say he took the gun. He wanted to shoot the guy. He missed, or he grazed him. Whatever. Right? He hit him in the ear. Right? He hit him in the ear. All right. Grazed the ear, and now the person survived. Right? And he caused damage at the same time.
You have to replace the earring.
You have to. Yes. I'm sorry. Go ahead. It is, but the point is that for Jewish judicial purposes, the court will not give him a capital crime. They will not give him death penalty because he didn't commit the crime. Right? Yes. Last question. Gentlemen, we have another question here. I want to hear his question.
What if someone commits murder
Yeah.
and then goes to the house store and then breaks in? He does a crime of murder, that's capital punishment.
Yeah.
Followed by a crime of mammon, not at the same
Right. No, there's no issue. We're going to see that. That's a good question. We will deal with that. No, that's not an exactly. Meaning that's a separate act. One act was a crime for which he's subject to death penalty. The other act was just damages. Okay, those are two separate acts. Now, so far we dealt with death penalty. What was the other physical punishment that Jewish law recognizes other than death penalty? Lashing. Okay, and again, lashing, very rare. Right? One of the cases where they would lash, for example, and again, very rare, but this would be, let's say, if a person doesn't want to give a get. What? Oh, what did you say? I didn't hear. What did you? No. Let's say a person doesn't want to give a get. There's a guy, he refuses to give a get to his wife. The wife deserves a get. The Bet Din said, give him a get. I don't want to give him a get. What are you supposed to do? The lady's in Aguna now. Right? So I know we have a problem like this. In the community, sometimes they it's not as common as it could have been, but it happens sometimes, where there's a get refuser, and now the woman, Chazita, she can't get married, and the guy is, having fun wherever he's having fun. So according to Jewish law, you can give a malkut for that. That would be an example of malkut, okay? But, so now, in malkut, there's a separate...
They used to do it back in the day.
Yeah?
Now you can't, because everybody...
Right, no, well, yes, okay, now it's a problem. Okay, now, let me explain. So we dealt with death penalty and monetary damages. Put that on the side. Now and we're going to read this now. Now let's deal with malkut and monetary damages. Here the law is a little different. Let me explain to you the law. Pay attention, because otherwise you're not going to understand the rest of the class. In the case of malkut, if the person committed a crime for which he's liable to malkut, I'll give you an example. The person, there was two Aidim, they come to him, it's Yom Kippur, and he's lighting a fire. They said, no, don't light the fire, it's Yom Kippur, haram to light the fire in Yom Kippur, it's malkut, you're gonna get malkut if you do this. I don't care, I'm lighting the fire. Takes a match, smokes a cigarette, lights a fire. As he lights the fire, he accidentally causes a fire in his neighbor's yard and damages. In this case, he's hayab malkut. He also has monetary damages. In this case, we will ask the following question. Is he actually getting malkut? It's not like in the death penalty. In the death penalty, we didn't ask if he's actually getting the death penalty. We said, if you commit a crime for which the punishment is theoretically death, even if you're not actually going to get death, maybe you didn't get proper adim, maybe there was not proper hatra'ah, maybe there was something wrong with the testimony, maybe one of the witnesses came to court and they realized this guy, we can't rely on him for whatever reason, doesn't matter the reason. Even though he actually didn't get death penalty, he still would not be liable for monetary damages. In the case of malkut, it's not like that. Only if he actually gets malkut is he exempt from monetary damages. If he committed a crime for which the punishment is malkut, but he's not getting malkut, then he would be subject to monetary damages. You understand the difference between death penalty on the one side and malkut on the other side? Or do you want me to repeat it? You want me to repeat it? Right? Again, death penalty, we only ask, what crime did he commit? Oh, it's a crime that has death penalty. Okay, he's not going to pay any money.
Right.
Okay, I'm going to explain more soon. Malkut, only if he actually gets malkut would he be exempt from paying money. We don't look at the crime. We ask, is he getting malkut? If he's getting malkut, he doesn't have to pay. Doesn't have to pay. If he's not getting malkut, he has to pay. You understand?
Deserving and supposed to be getting malkut,
Yeah.
but because of his health for some whacked out reason, they can't even do one lash.
Right. He would pay.
So it's default.
He would pay. No malkut. He would pay.
Because it has to do with the actual.
Whatever the reason, it doesn't matter. He would pay. Exactly. He would pay. In that case. Okay, let's finish this halakha. Ve'alsei avera. So you're at the second line of page 1. Ve'alsei avera. Shenitchayev b'malkut v'tashlumim lokeh ve'eno meshalem. If a person commits a crime for which the punishment is lashing, and again I said it, very rare to get this. In this case, he would get malkut, and he wouldn't pay. He would be exempt from paying. We're going to read now some examples. Lefi she'en adam lokeh meshalem. A person cannot be subject to criminal, punitive punishment of lashing, and also be subject to monetary damages. It's either or. And again, what does the Gemara say? Him le bidraba mineh. We're going to give him the more severe punishment, not the less severe punishment. Lefichach im haya shogeg. Therefore, in the case of malkut, if what he did was by accident, really unintentionally, he unintentionally lit a fire on Yom Kippur, causing a fire in his neighbor's yard, he would not get malkut because it was unintentional, and therefore he would have to pay monetary damages because there's no malkut. Okay? So that's the topic of the chapter. Now we're going to go into the details of these laws, and we're going to give a whole bunch of examples.
Does it talk about the animals also? Like your animal killing another animal in someone's yard or whatever it is, like.
Right. So no, we're not dealing with that. That is so the question.
Very similar.
Very similar, but in the case of an animal, he would be subject, meaning the individual who owns the animal will be subject to monetary damages. He would not be subject to malkut in that case. Okay, so it is. We treat it very seriously, but that would not be malkut. That would be monetary damages. Okay. Skip now to halacha gimel. I'm sorry.
What if the animal kills? What if the animal kills?
You're right. So the question now becomes: there's different types. There's shor tam, there's shor mu'ad, different types of things, but it would be a question of monetary damages. Monetary damages means we would look at it from a monetary perspective. I'm going to explain in a moment. Let me read one halakha, and then I will tie it all together, all the questions about the animals and the non-animals. Okay, look at halakha gimel. So let's give an actual example. Let's illustrate this. Zarak placed b'Shabbat. The person took an arrow, and he like a bow and arrow, or no, like say he had a spear in his hand, and he threw the spear. Mitahilat arba le'asaf arba. And he's at a place where there is no eruv. He's in Reshut Harabim, and there is a law that you are not allowed to carry an object 4 amot in Reshut Harabim. That's 2 yards. It's actually a little more than 2 yards. It's closer than 3 yards. But the person carried an object from point A to point B, carrying in Reshut Harabim Daled amot. And now, what is the law for Shabbat? Meaning, if a person does Chilul Shabbat, what is the law? Skila, death penalty. So Shabbat is one of the things for which it's considered a capital crime, and therefore, again, he is in a place where there is no eruv. He is in Reshut Harabim. Now, what does he do? He takes a spear and he throws it. Obviously, it goes much further than 4 amot. And then as he throws the spear in Reshut Harabim, he's doing target practice. He's a terrible thrower. It goes through his friend's clothing. It tears a hole in his friend's clothing, right? So you understand what happened? So there's 2 things that happen here. Number 1, Chilul Shabbat. What is the punishment for Chilul Shabbat? Death penalty. Okay.
He didn't walk with it, he threw it.
He threw it, exactly. So Jewish law, Hallchot Shabbat. There's several ways you can do carrying in the Reshut Harabim. One is to pick it up, walk, and put it down. You're right. Another is to throw it. So according to Halacha, he threw it from point A to point B. That's considered.
So technically,
No, that's kind of right. So the Gemara deals with that. He says that's an example of carrying. If a person takes it from point A, instead of actually carrying it, he throws it, and it lands now in the Reshut Harabim in point B, more than 4 amot. It would be considered. Chilul Shabbat, right?
You can throw a boomerang?
What?
You can throw a boomerang?
Why? Oh, because it's coming back. Interesting. That's a great question. If you throw a boomerang, technically, it didn't land 4 amot away. It landed in the same. Okay, interesting question. All right.
Meet us by the park on Shabbat in a boomerang.
Oh yeah. Okay. All right. By the way, Deal has a neru, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, Deal has a neru. Okay, good. I was getting concerned that I don't know. Good. Okay. Like when we were young, we used to play in Friends Field. Friends Field. Now, I think there's an eruv, but also, and I'm not saying I'm making a pesach halacha, but it had like a fence around it. That's not a Reshut Harabim, technically speaking, because of that. But okay, I'm just explaining that this person, now he threw the spear, he was aiming for his friend, and it just tore through his clothing. So now there's two things. Number one, it's Shabbat. Did he do Chilul Shabbat? Yes. Point A to point B, more than 4 amot, Chilul Shabbat. Okay. Did he cause monetary damage to his friend? Yes, he tore his clothing. Jewish law, by the way, takes monetary damage very seriously. Meaning, a person causes harm to his friend, it's a very serious matter in Jewish law. Like no allowances in that. So now the question is, what are we going to do? Are we going to give him? I'm going to say, well, he's subject to death penalty, or are we going to say pay out? And what's the answer? Kim le bidraba mine. We will give him. What?
He's gonna pay up, they're not really gonna kill him.
All right. So now, okay. So now let's read it.
And technically, if they kill him, his friend gets nothing.
Okay. So let's see. Let's see. Another example. Oshi idlik kedish havero b'Shabbat. It's Shabbat, and his neighbor is bothering him. So he goes into his neighbor's farm, and he has like a haystack. So he takes a match on Shabbat, pours kerosene, pours kerosene on the haystack, takes a match, lights it, throws, the whole haystack goes up in flames. So now,
Sunny side up.
what? Sunny side up. Okay, interesting. I never heard that expression. Sunny.
All the chickens.
All the chickens. Oh, yes. Okay. So again, the same action had one side was Hilul Shabbat, lighting a fire on Shabbat. Same action. The other side was monetary damages to the friend. He brought the haystack. That's the second example. Let's give a third example.
But the second one was done on purpose. That he did on purpose.
Let's say the first one was on purpose.
Throw it and hit it.
Yeah,
he didn't want his friend.
He saw Donald Trump. He was he wanted to in a rally. He took a fetz, threw it at Donald Trump. It went through his jacket, causing a hole in the jacket. It wasn't touched, right? So he did it on purpose. Okay, let's say he did it on purpose. Let's say it was b'mezid. That's the third case. O sheganav kis b'Shabbat. A person robbed his friend. He entered his friend's house. Let me tell you what happened. He enters the house. Now let me explain to you. I see a wallet in a house. It doesn't belong to me. At what point in time, not me, let's say that Uven enters his friend's house and he sees in the house a sack of money. Okay? At what point in time is Reuven considered to have committed the act of robbery so that he's liable for robbing? You understand the question? What? Breaking in, he's still not liable, meaning it's haram to break in, fair enough, but he's not considered a ganav yet. What did you say? At the moment that he picks up the sack, he's a robber.
Even in the house.
Even in the house.
Even if he doesn't take it.
No. He picked it up because he wanted ownership. Meaning, let's say I'm in my friend's house, I'm looking for something, I'll pick up the sack, I'm like, no, it's not here. I didn't pick it up to take it. But he picked it up for the purpose of purloining the sack. He wanted the money. Now, on Shabbat, if he's inside his friend's house and he picked up the sack of gold, let's say, there's no Chilul Shabbat, right? So how can there possibly be Chilul Shabbat here?
Transfer ownership, you want to say?
No.
Just picking it up.
How can there be? You understand the problem? How can it be that robbing his friend's sack on Shabbat would be Chilul Shabbat? It can't be because it has to be the same. Meaning, he picks up the sack and say, he walks outside the house with the sack. That's ha'avara b'rshut harabim. But it's not the same action, and it has to be the same action.
So it's two separate.
It's two separate actions. How can it be the same action? You understand the question?
Wait, you're saying when he walks
We want it
outside,
to be
it's
the
not
same action. We want that the
separate?
moment he becomes a robber is the moment that he did Chilul Shabbat.
Yeah.
Why is this Shabbat? He picked it up.
So picking it up in the friend's house is not Chilul Shabbat. What?
So it's two separate crimes.
Well, in that case, if he picked up the sack, he's in his friend's house. He's now act number one. He robbed the money. For that, he's going to have to pay monetary damages. Then he runs away with the sack. That's Chilul Shabbat. He would be liable to two things because it's two separate acts. I want a situation where it's the same act. So that's what we're going to read now. So look at Rambam.
So in that case, he would have to pay back and then kill him?
I'm sorry? Hopefully in that order. Yeah. No, the Dayanim would take the money from the estate, even if he wasn't, meaning, you're right. First of all, they would have to do death penalty as soon as possible. We don't allow this to carry on, meaning, but what they would do is they would assess the money from his estate, and then they would take it from the.
So the death penalty would be instantaneous, meaning the second.
I mean, right? They would have a trial. No, they would have a trial, and they were very strict of it. The trial was a very strict thing. The Dayanim had to fast. They couldn't just come in, and it was a very serious. To do death penalty in Jewish law was very serious. There's a pasuk that says "Lo tachilu al adam," and one of the meanings of "Lo tachilu al adam" is if you're a dayan and you're sitting in the court of 23 dayanim, minimum 23 dayanim, and there's going to be a death penalty case that you're not allowed to eat till the trial is over. Again, they took it very seriously. We did not enjoy in any way, God forbid, executing anyone. It was we did it when we needed to do it, but it was very rare. All right? Can you imagine if the judges in America that had to fast? We would take it more seriously. You know what I'm saying? Because we would realize
That you're hungry.
No, but like they had a lot of things. For example, they would start with the youngest judge first. What's your opinion? They wouldn't start with the oldest judge because exactly. I mean, they were very, very strict about it. It was a very strict situation. Okay, but
how about on Machteret? We say it's the same time where his death penalty ended stealing?
no, that's a different situation. If somebody enters a house at night, I have a right to kill that person because I don't have to wait for him to see what he. As somebody enters, the event enters somebody. I told you once when I was in Israel, somebody entered my house at night, and I got a little agitated, shall we say? I was ready to snap him, but he got away, and I tried to get him, and I think he saw that I was chasing him. He never came back again. I don't know why.
But he wouldn't pay back.
No, I was like just like no, because I had little kids in the house. You know what I'm saying? Like you have little kids in the house. Like you go little. So I was like chasing him down. It was like 4 a.m. I was like. Whatever, he got away.
But when you're allowed to kill him, then he's not guilty of the monetary.
Right. No, that's it. Right. That's. Let's continue. I want to. So again, how can you be a robber on Shabbat at the same moment that you did Chilul Shabbat? You understand the problem? Because if you pick up the sack, that's a robbery, but you didn't do Chilul Shabbat yet. You're inside the house. It's not till you leave the house that you did Chilul Shabbat. Now you're carrying from your house to the public domain. So that's what Harambam says. Look at this. This is from the Gemara. Again, we're halacha gimel. Second line of the halacha. O sheganav kis b'Shabbat, de'haya megarelo ad shehose'o mirshut ha'be'alim, shehi reshut ha'achil l'rshut harabim bedo sham. So what did the person do? The person, he didn't pick up the sack. He dragged it. Now, according to law, if you drag something that belongs to somebody else from that person's house, Reuven enters the house of Shimon, he sees that sack of gold. He doesn't pick it up, so he's not the robber yet. Instead, he drags it to the Reshut Harabim. At the moment that he drags it to the Reshut Harabim, that's the moment he becomes a robber, right? He never picked it up. He just dragged it out. At the moment that he dragged it to the Reshut Harabim, that's the Chilul Shabbat. So here you have the same action. It makes him into a robber, and the same action is a Chilul Shabbat. Right, to drag something from the house and drag it out, and then you stop in the Reshut Harabim. That's considered again. We have an eruv. No, you have to stop. No, you have to stop.
If I kept dragging.
No, if you to Reshut Hayachid is Reshut Rabbanan, that wouldn't count. He dragged it out.
Stop.
I need to rest.
That's
Okay,
not
and then you rest, and now he's stopping.
Once he stops.
That's considered.
So if he never picks it up, he's not a robber?
No, if you. Here is second way for him to be. The first way to be a robber is you're even in the person's house. You didn't even leave the house, but you picked it up. You're already a robber. Here, if you took it out of the house and put it in the public domain, even though you didn't pick it up, you became a robber.
If you're dragging, it's not considered.
No, that's the way. If you're dragging, as long as you're in his house,
Yeah.
it's not considered. But the minute you leave the house and you're in the Reshut Harabim, now it's considered that you're a
If you
robber.
steal a bicycle and you just roll
Right, exactly. Well, yes, but you become a robber. The minute you leave the house, you become a
it.
robber.
Is that like dragging or no? Because
You-
It doesn't matter. It's the same thing. It would be considered.
You can ride it inside all you want. The second Shabbat's overtaken.
Right. Okay, but there you. All right, wait.
Today, if you steal a car, also it'd be both at the same time.
Interesting.
The car would be Shabbat and stealing, no?
At the moment you turn the ignition, interesting.
The ignition, you already.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. So at the moment you turn the ignition, that would be the stealing of the car, and that would be the because you're asserting ownership. You only right. You're asserting ownership, and at that moment you're doing Chalul Shabbat. Okay, interesting.
Self-drive.
All right, so these are so okay. So first, you got the example. Let's continue.
For glasses. No, I want to take a car.
All right. So in all of these cases, he would only be liable for death penalty, and because he's liable for death penalty, he would not be liable for monetary damages. What's the principle? The principle is the same act that made him liable for death penalty would have made him liable for monetary damages. It's the same act. If it's a separate act, meaning he does one action, oh, I pick up the sack inside my friend's house. At that moment, I became a robber. I didn't do Chilul Shabbat yet. Act number 2, I leave the house with the sack. Oh, that's Chilul Shabbat. In that case, it would be both death penalty and monetary damages. In order for death penalty to excuse or to exempt monetary damages, it has to be the same act. You understand the principle? All right.
Mark, you have a point of
So in theory,
No.
Rabbi, this got off, you get off scot-free.
How? Oh, yes, you're right.
Because if there's no edim.
If there's no edim, he's correct. Now, there's no edim. Now, he did it, bemezid. He robbed it, But he said there's no edim. No, there's no edim. Great. Now, there's going to be no trial. If there's no trial, there's no death penalty. But at the same time, if he comes to me and he says, oh, you robbed it, I want you to pay double, what are we going to say? He can say one of two things. One is I lost it. I'll get to you in a second. I lost it. I don't know where it is. I spent the money. I went to Las Vegas, spent it all. Right? Who knows? Oh, so he spent all the money in Las Vegas, slot machine or whatever, poker table. Okay. But that's it. He doesn't have to pay. What are you going to do now? Yeah, you can get away with
Does it have
that.
to be there live or it could be on video?
I'm sorry? No. It can't be video.
So it has to be live.
Yeah, and by the way, I mentioned I think I was in Israel. I was giving a class in Israel. I don't think it was here. So I actually said in Israel, I was giving a class on the question of that according to Jewish law, al pi shenayim edim yakum davar, and I said how when I was young I always used to wonder about that, like why does it have to be 2 actual witnesses that you interrogate and you have to cross-examine and you have to go back and forth? Why not just the video? Like what's wrong with the video?
Right.
And now like it's obvious, like you have all these AI deep fake.
Oh, fake.
Yeah.
What if you compare?
No, you can make a video of anybody doing anything.
Yeah.
No, that's why you need. That's why Jewish. It's funny how like the Torah is so like well beyond human comprehension. Till a few years ago, I couldn't understand why this is. There was a case in Israel. I mentioned it. Rabbi Eliezer Abu Hasira. He was killed in the Bet Midrash. It was like late at night, 1 a.m. He was telling Torah. Somebody woke over, killed him, and they were commenting because he was by himself. They were commenting how there would have been no death penalty because nobody gave him hatra'ah. Meaning the guy walked in public, and I think it was a stabbing. I don't remember what happened. Elohim Yishmor Chazit Nishmato Eden. So the guy was studying Torah, big time Chacham in Israel, and there was people there. But we were like, then later on in the Knesset, where everybody was talking about it, and we said there would have been no death penalty because he was never warned. They didn't realize what's happening. Obviously, they had they realized, they would have stopped him. But they didn't realize what's happening. So I back then I started thinking, why do why all this? And the answer is, deep fakes, AI. There you go. Yes, sir.
Even then, what if you can verify without a shadow of a doubt that the video is genuine?
Right.
Like
Doesn't matter. You have to be
There's
able.
always going to be doubt.
You always have to. By the way, things are getting
Technology.
so. The technology. The AI today is created by human beings. Okay, there's going to be recursive AI within I think 2 years, which is AI will start creating AI. Okay, it's like we're like, by the way, people don't realize what's happening in the world. Like, I mean that seriously. Like, what's happening in the world nowadays? It's right. People are just not understanding this AI. It's going to be very interesting over the next. Put it this way: within 2 to 3 years, the AI is going to be so good. You probably get it. Okay. Back in I think it was December, January, I made this weird comment. I said that America is going to go, there's going to be some military action in South America. And you were like all looking at me like, what is he talking about? Like, right, not in a disrespectful way. Nobody was disrespectful, but now you see that things are heating up between America and Venezuela. Okay, so now I'm going to tell you something that you're going to look at me and you're going to say like, but what is he talking about? They're like, okay, so you remember in 2-3 years. In 2-3 years, the AI will be so advanced that something like between 90 and 95% of all jobs will become obsolete, theoretically. I added the word theoretically. I'm not saying that 90 to 95% of all jobs will become obsolete. They won't need 90 to 95% of all jobs. And I'm talking about 2 to 3 years. I know this sounds completely crazy, but this is what's going to happen. Now, it may take 10 years for people to say, you know, I don't want an accountant anymore. I'd rather use an AI accountant, right? Meaning, if I have like my own accountant, I trust him. I'm not going to trust an AI. So within 2 to 3 years, I'll have AI that's as good as my accountant. Doesn't mean I'm going to switch to him. That's why I said theoretically. So the actual transition to AI, but the first thing that's going to be lost is Uber drivers. They're going to be out. There's going to be no more Uber. I don't think there's going to be taxis. I think buses as well. I don't, why would they do that? I mean, it's like you have to be crazy. Like all the liability you have
That's
fun.
a lot calls if there's no taxi drivers.
What?
That's a lot calls.
Right. Oh, I didn't think of that. Okay, that's a good. Yeah. So
And
what's
you walk in and say, we do Google this and that.
so the AI is. So listen, within 5 years, they're saying there's going to already be super intelligence. Once that happens, the AI is going to be so smart. It's going to be like, you think it's not going to be able to fool you? Oh, I'm going to figure out that this video is not real. The AI will be like 10 steps ahead of you. You see what I'm saying?
There have been cases of kids that committed suicide because their friends created AI videos of them engaged in different
Right,
acts or
exactly.
whatever, and even though everyone knows
And
it's
that's-
fake,
and that
it's
was-
just already out there that they feel like it's them.
And that was verifiably false. The AI is going to become so advanced, they're going to be able to fool us like nothing. It's going to be pretty interesting. We need the Mashiach very soon. I'm happy that I'm a Jew and I believe in God and I believe in Mashiach. Otherwise, I'd be very, very nervous. I'm not nervous. Okay.
Mashiach is coming also within those 2-3 years?
That I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen.
AI will
Well, that's AI.
The really scary thing about, and I'm going to finish with that and then we'll continue. The really scary thing about AI is that the AI technology is growing exponentially. A few years ago, they were saying, oh, become a coder. Deal with the technology revolution by becoming a coder. Today, AI can do coding better than any human being. Okay, as I said, well, yeah, remember they're saying that, become a coder.
Yeah, coder.
Not going to work anymore. So now the AI is going to start producing AI.
Wow.
Okay. The scary thing, and this is a scary thing, and we'll get back to the topic. The AI technology is growing exponentially. Okay. The security measures to secure the AI technology is growing in a linear fashion. What that means is that if you have bad people who want to use the AI in a bad way, you're not going to have the security technology able to stop them, because the security is growing linearly and the AI is growing exponentially. That's the really scary part about AI. That's where I don't lose sleep, but if I was not Jewish and I didn't believe in God, that's where I would lose sleep. I'm sorry.
But AI could create that security.
Feather, it's a great point. No doubt they will try to create security, but the AI is like, it's like literally every second it's rewriting, and it's not now. In 5 years, it's gonna be like every second rewriting and rewriting and rewriting. You know, you come out with a new iPhone, like every 1 year you got a new iPhone. The new stuff is gonna be so fast that we're not even gonna know what's happening. Okay.
Wouldn't you be able to make a security AI that keeps up with it?
We shall see. Okay, let's continue. Aval. Okay, so now let's go to Halacha Gimel. I'm sorry, Dalet. Yes. Avalim Ganam Kis B'Shabbat. Now, another situation. A person robbed the sack of gold on Shabbat. He picked it up in the Shute Achid. He wasn't clever enough. So now, one act is he became a robber. The minute he picked up the sack of gold in the Shute Achid, he became a robber. At that moment, he sold it into Hilul Shabbat. But then afterwards, he takes the sack of gold to the Reshut Arvim. That's act number 2. That second act is Hilul Shabbat. וישליחו לנהר, חייב לשלם תשלום בכפל. In that case, he has to pay double money for having robbed. And of course, he has to be subject to geniva, because he became a robber from the moment he picked up the sack. Before it was chayav sekila from doing chilul Shabbat. Okay? So until now, clear, simple.
Wait, you said kol ben shit chayav yisur, meaning you first have to take care of the money.
It has, in order for death penalty to extinguish monetary liability, it has to be the same action. If it's two actions,
You have to do both.
it doesn't extinguish the death penalty will not extinguish the monetary liability. Okay, so until now we dealt with death penalty. We said the second type of punitive damage, and punitive is not right, corporeal damage, I guess. The second type of physical, corporeal body punishment is, we said, malkut. Let's deal now with the law of malkut. How does that work? And I said it's a little different. So let's look at it now. Let's say a person on Yom Tov, he goes to his friend's orchard and he chops down a tree. Okay, he needs wood. Now, according to halacha, if a person does melacha on Yom Tov, it's not like doing melacha on Shabbat. If a person does melacha on Shabbat, it's death penalty. If a person does melacha on Yom Tov, it's not death penalty. It's malkut. So it's a great example, great illustration of how malkut, lashing, is different than death penalty. Okay? So here, again, Yom Tov, he chops down the tree, he needs firewood. The Eidim come there and say, what are you doing? It's Yom Tov. Don't you know you're not allowed to chop down wood on Yom Tov? It's a tree. Haram. Itrubo, they gave him hatra'ah, and there was proper hatra'ah. All right, that's case number one. Now here you notice the action of Hilul Yom Tov was the same action for which he's subject to monetary liability. Correct? Let's go to case number two. It's Yom Kippur. On Yom Kippur, what is there is no death penalty on Yom Kippur for Chilul Yom Kippur? Well, interesting. People think Yom Kippur is more severe than Shabbat. It's not. Shabbat is more severe than Yom Kippur. Shabbat, it's death penalty. Yom Kippur, it's karet or malkut. Malkut is lashing. So he
Is karet not more?
No, it's less. Okay, karet you can. Okay, yeah. If he doesn't make teshuvah, he can lose his olam haba, but also in the death penalty. Meaning, in any case, you need to make teshuvah because you want to have olam haba, right? You don't want to, right? So you have to make teshuvah before they commit death penalty. Also, before they execute the person. I'm sorry, they would tell him, please make teshuvah, say vidui, so that you got olam haba, and like that's the death penalty will be kapara for you, and you'll go not straight, but you'll go to olam haba. But let's go. I'm going to finish this halacha because I'm going to at least finish this thing before we. So it's Yom Kippur. He lights the fire. It's his friend's haystack. Somebody set sunny side up. He burns it. I don't know what he burns. He burns the hay. He burns the chickens. Whatever there is. It's Yom Kippur. It's not Shabbat. There's no death penalty. But you notice the same action, which is Chilul Yom Kippur, for which he's chayav, liable for lashing, that same action is liable for monetary damages. He just burnt his friend's hay or chickens or whatever. Okay. Or shetavach b'yom kippurim, or he went into his friend's barn on Yom Kippur and he made shechita on an animal. That would be considered the same chilul Yom Kippur, which is making shechita on the animal, is the moment that he becomes a robber and he's liable for robbery. So you see exactly the same action.
Wait, shechita is considered stealing?
If you take an animal of your friend and you shochet the animal, that's considered an act of ownership. It's like picking up the right. So the same way picking up the sack would make you a robber, making tebicha on the animal would make you a robber, right? So here again, the same action. Liable for malkut because he made Chilul Yom Kippur. Liable for monetary damages because he robbed his friend's cow. Patur min hatashlumin. In all these cases, the malkut, the punishment of malkut, extinguishes the liability for money. You understand? But here it's different than death penalty. Avalim lo yitrubo. If he didn't get the proper hatra'ah, in this case he has to pay. It's not like in the case of the death penalty. In the case of the death penalty, we don't care. You committed an act for which the crime could theoretically be death, even though you're not going to be getting death because there was no witnesses, there was no atra'ah, you don't have to pay. In the case of malkut, if you committed the crime, but you didn't get hatra'ah, and you're not going to be getting malkut because you didn't get hatra'ah, the witnesses didn't warn you, the witnesses didn't come and say, haram, what are you doing? Stop. Didn't happen. You're not going to get malkut. In this case, so let's just give an example. A person now, he enters his friend's barn, he's by himself, he slaughters the animal on Yom Kippur. Had there been two witnesses there, he would get malkut. And therefore, he would not have to pay. But there was no two witnesses there. And therefore, once he slaughters the animal on Yom Kippur, he has to pay the owner of the animal for the damages that he did. Remember, he robbed this cow, right?
There's no witnesses.
Right, how do you make them liable?
Okay, no, I mean, later on, the witness, maybe there was witnesses that saw him doing it, but they didn't give him hatra'ah for Hilul Yom Kippur. It's for example, as an example, or maybe they came to him and he finally confessed. Okay, you have to return it. They return the cow, pay the cow at least, whatever it is.
But you still need a witness with a confession. I thought we learned.
No, the witness. If there's witness, you get the penalty. Then God say it has to pay the double, or in this case 4 or 5. But here you would have to return the cow. Okay, so you just said I confess, return the cow. All right,
What's
so.
the proof? Right.
Exactly, you would have to. Exactly. All right, but let's say there was witnesses that saw him rob it, but didn't give him the warning that it's Yom Kippur, and therefore you can do tebichah. Now, had it been Shabbat, let's take the same case. It's Shabbat. Shabbat, death penalty. He enters a barn. He slaughters the animal. There's nobody there. Since theoretically he might have gotten death penalty, he doesn't have to pay. You see the difference in Yom Kippur and Shabbat? On Kippur, if there's nobody there, he has to pay. He's not getting malkut, so he has to pay. Only if there's people there and they give him a warning and they say, listen, haram, Yom Kippur, then he doesn't have to pay. So that's the difference between malkut on the one side, lashing on the one side, and a death penalty on the other side. All right? We'll do one more halakha.
Yeah, he's got a question.
I'm sorry, yes,
The
Jeff.
witness obligated to give someone a warning if they see them about to break a law. Like, let's say a witness sees someone, and they, rather than not get the punishment, so they don't warn them saying, oh, you're about to break this law.
Right.
That's the warning.
Would the witness then get in trouble for not warning the person?
No, they will not get in trouble. They will not get it. It's a personal decision. You do have to, let your friend know you're doing something wrong, haram. But okay, let's continue. Halakha vav. Yeah, halakha vav. Ganav shetavar b'shabbat ola avodah zarah. Let's bring another example. Another example is, so according to law, there's a law of avodah zarah. Now, avodah zarah is also death penalty. So if bar minan, a person brings a korban to avodah zarah, it's death penalty. A person enters a Hindu temple in India, and they give him incense, and they say, hey, why don't you burn this for our God? Oh, how beautiful, I'll burn it, beautiful incense. You put it on the plate, and you get an incense for that God, and that's the way they worship that particular idol. That would be avodah zarah, would be chayam mitah. So now, a person, he wants to bring a korban in honor of a particular idol. So he does shechita on the animal, and the purpose of the shechita is, in honor of that God, he's going to be bringing this animal as a korban. Right? That's the avodah zarah. He takes his friend's animal, and he slaughters it for avodah zarah. Now, what's the punishment for avodah zarah? Death. All right. In this case, afilu bishkaga, even if he didn't know what he was doing, he didn't realize that it's haram to slaughter an animal for avodah zarah. He didn't know. Uneducated. In this case, he would be patur mitashlumei arba v'chamisha. He wouldn't have to pay for the robbery. Normally, when you rob and you slaughter an animal, you have to pay 4 or 5 times. 4 times for the sheep, 5 times for an ox. Here, we wouldn't be subject to the liability because he is subject to death penalty. You say, oh, but he's not actually getting death penalty. He didn't know what he was doing. It doesn't matter because he said in the case of death penalty, even if it's enough that you committed the crime for which the punishment is theoretically death penalty, you don't actually have to get the death penalty. All right, I think we can stop here.
Very good.
All right. Next week, should we continue? You want to go to something? Yes? All right. So let's have the... Yeah.